Yeah, right. Now, but there are other things we can do. We are not, it's not a totally helpless situation. So.
I want to rig cameras, some kind of infrared cameras or
Well,
something where it will, any
do you
movement.
own a VCR?
No. But I was even thinking, I'm trying to think of ways like, see, there's...
We've thought of these things, and there is something that works, and that is a video camera and a VCR, and that works.
But don't they know that that might be there?
Yes.
I mean, you know, it's like, can't they just, and
Yes.
zap it out?
Yep.
That's why I figured that out.
Happens. By and large, however, they don't.
But this, see, won't go on unless it's voice activated.
That doesn't matter. There is no voice. And there's no
But
sound either.
There's nothing? Oh, bummer.
As long as the video camera is on and the VCR is on, and there are ways to keep it on and prevent it from being turned off, they will wait for another opportunity for an abduction. That means that you sleep all night long protected.
Cool.
That's what that means. Now, sometimes it doesn't even work then, but it works enough that. But this is down the line, Colette. There's pros and cons to this. This is not something I didn't want to discuss now, but there are pros and cons to it, believe me, and there are cons. There's a downside. It's not just a what.
Well, all the expense, for one.
The expense is one. You get attached to it. Hard to get away from it.
Well, I don't want to be dependent. I want to go through this so that I'm free from it, that I have just myself to...
We can't guarantee any sort of physical control, unfortunately. We just can't do that.
What do you mean by that?
Well, we can't prevent it.
I know.
But we can give you enough emotional and intellectual strength to deal with this so that if it happens, you don't give a shit anymore. Remember that pamphlet that you read, or did you ever read that pamphlet? No, I guess not. You didn't go through Bud's, that's right. See, what the normal route that people have for me is they hear about me in some way, and then they call me up, and then I talk with them and take their life history and all that sort of what I did with you. And then I send them a pamphlet, a warning pamphlet. And the pamphlet says, these are the pros and the cons of finding out. Number one, it's strong material. Number two, you might be actually in isolation. Here you have these unusual, extraordinary events happening to you. You want to talk about them, you need to talk about them. And you can't, because people think that you're out of your mind. And even if you tell your own family, their natural, normal, and sometimes caring and loving impulse is to say, my God, there's something wrong with her, she needs help. And that is a caring way. I mean, you have to look at it from their point of view.
Right.
I mean, that's a normal way to go about looking at this. And yet, so what happens is people do tend to become a little bit isolated. Particularly in North Carolina, where you don't have many people don't have a wide circle of friends yet who you can pick and choose from in terms of who to talk to and who not to. And so you have to be a little bit careful.
A lot careful.
Mm-hmm. And even if people sometimes you think are being supportive, and sometimes they feel that they're really giving you the all, they're trusting and believing, even then you have to be careful, because oftentimes people move this sort of humor other people along.
Patronage.
Right.
I gotta ask this.
Okay.
How come I could remember so much?
It's something that I said while we were going through it. It's odd, and once again, we don't know the physiology of this. But these events are stored in one's mind in an area that's not normally accessible in normal memory. You just can't remember it. I mean, it's been 12 years, you never remembered it before, and now suddenly here it is, and it rolls out like a movie. And the question is, where is it stored? What is the memory process here that goes on? And the answer is we don't know the physiology of it. We don't quite know why it is. But people have remembered things that they've tried to remember for 30 years, and I'll just relax them. As you can tell, you weren't in any transported state or anything like that. You're laying there, and suddenly, boom, there it is.
What I feel like, like...
You get the same feelings back, because hypnosis is a fraud, but yet it is something, too.
Well, what was weird is that I still was trying to fight it in my mind, like, discount it. You know, like,
Right.
wait a minute, that can't be. I mean, I'm obviously, but then I would keep seeing it, you know, but I'd try to rationalize it
Right.
kind of to some degree, but then it seemed like, I mean, if I were to make up one, you know, about that night, what would happen, I don't know if I'd make that one up. I mean,
You know,
I don't know if I would write the script that way or
Right.
not.
What I've done with students of mine was, I teach a UFO class, the only one of its kind in the country. And they come in and I'll say, hey you, I want you to invent an abduction. Try to pick on somebody who I don't think it's happening after. And
Yeah.
I say, I'll let you read anything you want. I'll let you do any research that you want, say anything you want, but I want you to invent an abduction. And let's see if you can say something that every single abductee says most every time. You didn't this particular time, but there's a reason for that. And let's just see if you can say it. I haven't had a single person think of it yet, not one. They just don't ever think of it. And there's something that goes on there that I call mind scan, which I'm not even going to tell you what it is. That happens most every time. Didn't happen this time. I pushed you a little bit about it, and it didn't say anything. But it'll be there, because it's what I call a primary experience, as it happens to most everybody most every time.
Is that when they put their hands up there?
No.
What
Something
was
else,
it
something
about
different.
this?
I don't know what that was.
That's something new.
Yeah, a little
To
touching
me,
procedure.
To me, it was like that was. I had the impression that was him knowing who I was. You know, like kind of just like.
Maybe. Maybe. Hard to tell. Maybe not.
Well, did I say anything that other people would say?
Oh, absolutely. Right on target. Dead center.
Did I? What about? I mean, if I were to write the scene, I probably would have thought, because something in one of the books is like a car gets pulled off the side of the road.
Right.
You know, and I'd probably say, I would probably had a car pull off the side of the road or something, and then we get out or something.
But that does happen also. In fact, it is more normal to have the car pull off to the side of the road.
But have you ever heard of just like going forward and then all of a sudden get jerked and kind of spiraled up?
Yeah. One woman I talked with was on a school trip in a bus. And the entire bus and everybody on it just went up and was sort of spinning around. And
That's how I felt. I mean, like with force that that we were like.
well, you were holding on.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was holding on. You mean the whole car? The
The
car was
whole
right with
car,
you going
everything
up
just
there,
went. It's like we were going forward, and we were jerked in on a spin upwards.
Yeah.
But I would.
too. Did the bus get taken up also?
Bus got taken up.
So you've
Bus got
heard of
taken
that
up.
then?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I have to ask you these things.
Oh, but sure.
You know, so
Of
that I
course.
understand
Certainly.
that what I just went through. Could I have made that up?
Yeah, it's possible that you could have made it up. The chances of hitting all these things that other people say all the time are pretty small. I would say that there's no chance, but it's possible. Anything is possible. I can't say no.
1 in a million to hit all the things you hit.
It's 1 in a million, right? But Colette, you've told me about a whole series of strange experiences, which I have targeted as unusual things happening. So the chances of making it up are probably not great.
I was just afraid that maybe I'll make these things up in my mind. You know, that I make these things up.
Yeah, but if you make these things up, you would know it.
Because I want to feel different, or, you know, that I want to be special or different, or...
You can be special in other ways.
I mean, I'd rather be special because I was recognized for my flute playing.
Absolutely,
Not because I
of
was
course.
recognized because some Martian is...
No, that's not something...
That's not a positive...
it's not something that people
So
intend
it's
to be
not
special.
something that you made up, probably.
Yeah, besides that, you didn't... This is not a normal...
You know, the
part of your
thing that
life.
got me when I was reading one of the books, why I decided to make that tape to Bud originally was There wasn't anything in those books that really hit me emotionally. You know, that when I would read it, all of a sudden it was like pushed an emotional memory.
Yeah.
But when they talked about, I remember sitting at the park while Colton was playing, I'm reading this book, and I come to these chapters, and there's this rumbling, and all of a sudden I start bursting out, and I'm crying, and it was like, and I go, oh God, this is real. That was a parallel. That was a real parallel for me.
Yeah,
But then I
and
didn't, because I had forgotten all about that up until that point when I read that, and it triggered my memory of it, and then I was crying. It was like, bam, I was crying, and then I go, oh, Colette, you just want this to be. But then I was thinking, why am I on this search to find? I've been on this search for a long time. I went to a psychic years ago. I played the part of the tape for him to even prove to him that this isn't something new to me, that I went to a New Age bookstore and bought a book and go, oh yeah, this is interesting. I want to be involved in this. That
What
I've
did the
been on
psychic say?
Psychic said there's a great possibility, that this was going on. You know, but I wasn't talking about this and that. I was talking about mental telepathy communication and being educated and instructed that there was some kind of form of communication going on. And nothing about.
Well,
I don't know.
this is something that if it's, there's a lot of things that people can invent. Many years ago, a guy named Alvin Lawson, who's a professor of English at Long Beach State, did an experiment. He took 8 students, and he decided that he would hypnotize each one of them and pretend that they had an abduction event. And the expectation when that's going to happen is that every case would be different, and that every alien would look different, and all the experiences would be different, because none of them knew anything about it, and none of them had any knowledge of how to do an abduction. So they were all hypnotized, and they said, okay, you're going to be abducted. Now, how do you get into the object? And what happens next? What happens next? Sure enough, everyone was totally different. They were off the wall. All the beings looked completely different. All the experiences were different. Everything was different, just as you would expect. That's not what we find with people who come to me anyway, and or Bud. What we find is a very narrow phenomenon. It is unfortunately focused on. And we find a phenomenon that people just don't describe. Huge areas of things that they could describe. They describe an examination as you did, they describe a table, they describe gynecological and for men, urological sperm sampling techniques. They describe a group of other experiences that happened to them afterwards, which I won't be vague about, and then out. They don't describe knowledge about the beings' home planets, and they come from the planet Vortex, which is always behind the sun, so you can never see it. There's no death, there's no taxes, there's no IRS, there's no divorce up there, that sort of stuff. They don't describe that. But when people make things up, they do describe that. And when people make up stories, we know everything about the aliens. We know what they eat for breakfast and what they do Saturday night. In this situation, there was no communication at all from what you could tell. They sure as hell weren't telling you about the propulsion methods that they have to get here from Venus,
But I've had dreams where they show me the outside of their spacecrafts and that they hide in water, and really bizarre.
Let's keep that on the back burner. There are reasons for that are not what you think. Remember I said we're going to start from 0 and move to 1? All bets are off now. Now you're getting information as opposed to...
Is that my mind trying to accept it?
No, not necessarily. Sometimes dreams, in fact, are dreams. There are procedures that are run that we haven't talked about here, miscellaneous mental procedures, in which there are mental examinations run by doing what I call visualizations and putting different images in people's minds and examining them carefully to see how they're reacting. And people sometimes remember that and they think, oh my God, that actually happened. Well, yes and no. Something happened. They don't quite know what it is, and they're left with that residue.
Well, I went through a series of dreams in 1980, 79 or 80, where I was like being schooled or communicated to by extraterrestrials.
Communication takes place.
And I'd wake up and go, wow, God, I was just being communicated or educated or taught something instructed or something.
Well, let's keep all that on the back burner. Those procedures do happen. Here they are, in fact. Right there, knowledge. And there's something called testing right here and other things.
Yeah, they tested it. Right?
But
They tested me.
Yep.
Just 2 months ago, I had a dream where somebody was asking me questions and I was answering
To
these
see how much
questions.
she knew about
And then
you
after,
at the spaceship.
right, and then I completed that test, and then they fed me more information.
this is not necessarily to give you information to learn and to hold from this day forward. These are mental procedures that are run that are a part of another agenda.
Great.
So let's just keep.
Well, then you've heard of that stuff.
Oh yeah, let's keep it all on the back burner. We won't make.
So
any
this is a big,
conclusions right now.
wide, open field at this point.
Absolutely. You're in the infancy of it. If it had come to me 5 years from now, I know infinitely more than I know now. If it came to me 5 years ago, I wouldn't be able to do this at all.
5 years ago, we didn't even know anything about it.
Knew nothing.
The dialogue, this is dialogue down there. I've been told that I've talked in.
Strange tongue.
Well, by dialogue here, I mean, do you talk with a being? Do they answer? Is there a dialogue that goes on?
Oh, you mean
Oh.
verbal dialogue
Right.
instead of mental?
Well, no. It's all mental. There's no there's no communications that are going through people's mouths or ears.
I can't say that. I just know that there's been a couple people in my life that say that I've talked in some weird language that they don't even know.
That's something different because there is no language involved with this. We're not in a language situation.
Okay, so that could be some other
Right.
paranormal type thing.
Well, let's not go into paranormal first. Let's just say that talking in tongues or talking a strange language is one of the oldest forms of, religious phenomena and...
Possession?
Well, I don't know. You have to agree that there is such a thing as possession of knowledge. I'm a rationalist, you
I
know.
mean, more than one person had told me I'd done that within a year of each other, and they...
When you're sleeping, you mean? Or?
Uh-huh. And then one point I was awake. I don't understand.
Yeah, but sometimes things just don't mean that much. You can't... There's something called a funnel effect you have to be careful of. This is one event on your life. There are a lot of different influences on your life. I mean, growing up, parents, there's a lot of influences on everybody's lives. This is just another one. It's a big one, no doubt about that. But two things you got to be careful about. You can't funnel in everything that's happened in your life into this.
Right.
And at the same time, you cannot take a look at every unusual event that ever happens and say, well, it's part of this too. That's the funnel effect. You have to take that step back and say, maybe yes and maybe no.
Well, I guess it's because I'm at the beginning stages that, see, I've taken all these weird things that's happened in my life, and I'm trying to figure out if you put them together, there's a form to them.
There is, yeah. But right now, you don't have enough information.
Yeah.
So as you say, you're at the beginning stages. Collect some more, put it together, then come up with some answers.